real blast.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, April 11th, 2023 Public Works Committee meeting. Now is time for a roll call and determination of quorum.
Evans,
Here.
Lehman, Roberts,
Here.
Ham,
Here.
Stroman.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. And now is time for adoption of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion to adopt the agenda by Councilman Evans, a second by, excuse me, a second by Councilman Stroman. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Now is time for general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the committee on any issue not limited to items on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. I don't have anybody, so I will open general public comment and close general public comment. Now we'll move on to consent items, items 1 through 12, and I will open public comment. Again, I don't have anything in front of me, so I will close public comment. We'll move on to consent items, items 1 through 12, and I will ask Public Works Director Tech to speak on these items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll speak to items 2 through 11 today, and I believe Director Biegler can address item number 12. Let's get started. Item number 2 is a professional services agreement with Bartlett and West. This is to do major work to 4 of our wells, our water wells. So this is a significant effort to keep our source water available and in good working order. Item number 3 is a professional services agreement with HDR. This project is necessitated by the DOT's upcoming interchange reconstruction at Catron Boulevard and Mount Rushmore Road. Item number 4 is an infill agreement with NDN Collective to extend approximately 550 feet of water main and about 1,400 foot of sewer main to serve their development located at Country Road and Haynes Avenue. It's a standard agreement. I believe we have a couple representatives here to speak to it. If you have any specific questions, staff recommends approval of the agreement as signed and attached to the agenda. Item number 5 is a change order for Lane Christensen, who is currently doing work on our Well 12 project. This change order will actually lower the pump in our well, which will provide us additional water capacity in that well, as well as adding another pressure transducer for additional monitoring in the well. Item number 6 is our annual lane line painting contract. Once again, it's to do striping on city streets. We typically try to get started at the end of May, get complete before the peak of tourist season. And then in the fall, if we've got other streets that have had high wear, particularly on arterial streets, we'll do a fall painting on those as needed. Item number 7 is a purchase of a vac truck for our stormwater crew. As you can see, they're trading in a 2003 model year truck. This is a budgeted item. Item number 8, once again, this is a mini excavator to be purchased for our stormwater crew. It's a budgeted item as well. Item number 9 is a transit grant. It's a competitive grant that we are hopeful will be successful in obtaining, and it would be for the purchase of 3 replacement fixed route buses. Our previous fleet of fixed route buses was purchased all at the same time. For fleet purposes, we're hoping to be able to phase in replacements over the years so we don't have such a big capital purchase of the entire fleet at once. Item number 10 is a request to transfer tax deed property from Pennington County that came up on the annual tax deed list. This actually is part of a drainage or adjacent to a drainage facility. The property itself is actually used for drainage purposes, so the city is requesting to obtain this property. The only cost to the city would be to pay the back taxes on it, which I believe are negligible in this instance. And finally, item number 11 is a request sidewalk variance. This is for a property that you've seen platted between, I believe, Grand Terrace Drive and East Indiana. They have to build a small stub street that will only serve 3 properties and have requested variance to the sidewalk requirements due to the grade of the right-of-way there. Staff is recommending approval of this request. I'll stand by for any questions.
If we have no questions, we'll move on to Mr. Biegler.
Thank you. Item number 12 is to appoint Chris Zion to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. He will fill an unexpired position from an individual who has resigned due to an increased work commitment. So this position will expire at the end of 23, at which time Mr. Zion, if approved for appointment, can request reappointment for a full term.
Thank you very much. If we have,
I move to approve all consent items.
we have a motion to approve the consent items and a second. All in favor? All opposed? And then Mr. Evans wants a point of privilege to speak about something real quick.
First of all, Mr. Gilbert, are we supposed to be typing in our votes here now? Not yet. No, not till you.
Turn on your mic.
All right, because I saw a funny screen pop up with the vote. Yes, where that came from. I had to cancel. Just look.
Turn on your mic. Thank you.
There it is. Okay, I had a couple questions. One of them concerned something that was brought up at the beautification committee meeting the other day. And we had talked about that Anamosa Street Bridge project and involving Destination Rapid City and Elevate and perhaps a gateway design, a welcome to Rapid City thing. And the things I gave you are pictures. One of these was from the head of the committee. The one that doesn't say Sheridan on it is from Phoenix into Mesa, Arizona. It's beautiful. And the other one is the one I drive through on the way every time I go to Billings over in Sheridan, and that's what you pass under as you pass by the city of Sheridan. They're both great. So the concept would be to be something similar to that over the Anamosa Street passageway there as you come in on I-190. And hopefully that could evolve into something that is a gateway design on all of our entrances, perhaps over Rushmore Road, perhaps South Rapid City on 79, perhaps even East North Street or up by Menards or something. So I just want to let you know I'm going to be talking to Brooke over across the way about this and the involvement they want to do. But what we need to have is some follow through from you guys. I think Mr. Biegler talked to Mr. Haran the other day, and he said what to you?
I sent him an email asking him what the schedule was for this project, and he said it would not be bid until early or mid-September at the earliest of this year. So they do have, I don't know where they are in the design. I would imagine they're probably in full design, if not fairly close to completion, but I don't know what their design schedule is.
Well, if you guys use your recollection abilities, I brought this up, I think, back in November or October, and I thought we'd be getting some follow through and some communication. It didn't happen. But the fact is, we can build a bridge now. It's not going to fall down if they don't replace it for 10 years, so there's really no big rush. We should ask them to put a hold on this and make sure we get involvement in this, because it might cost a little bit more, but you know, the expense will be short-lived, whereas 70 years of ugly will last a long time. And I think it's a better idea to do it right now and have it correct for the future. So I'm gonna be following through on that. And it wouldn't be bad if, Mr. Tech, we could ask you to possibly get in touch with Mr. Haran as well and say, we're exploring this option. Please don't do anything until we can talk to him and have some kind of communication. Could that be possible?
Yeah, I can certainly reach out to the region office here and let them know of the city's interest in pursuing beautification. I've worked with the DOT long enough to know that they are going to say, bring us a funding source and we'd be happy to work with you. So
Right.
we have to keep that in mind.
And that's the reason I want to talk to Brooke, because that's where the money's going to have to come from possibly, and or other funding vehicles we have. The other thing I'd like to ask you about is just any progress on any development on Elkvale Road north of Flying J out there, or Common Sense, whatever it is, and see where we at in that project. I've had a couple calls about all that increased traffic, and I said, well, there's a project in the works of sorts, and it's sort of in the exploration stage, but I don't really know what the answer is to tell these people. Where are we with that particular job?
Well, that my memory fails me. I don't have that answer right off the top of my head.
But it is, something is currently being said. I know we've talked about how the sewer right of way and all the utility right of way has been, so I know something is being discussed out there.
There was a TIF that was recently approved for a sewer main extension, and I don't know the status of that. As far as I know, there has been no preliminary engineering reports or designs that have been submitted. If you're referring to the road surface itself, I believe the applicant for the TIF is trying to avoid going near the road because that expense was not included in the TIF. Staff did recommend that there were additional dollars put in the TIF to address the road surfacing issue out there, but that was not successful.
Well, if you could be so kind again to do a little exploration in your department, see if anything's happening, because I don't know what to answer these people when they call me.
Sure, yeah.
And just, I can tell you I can tell them then where it's at in terms of development and what the timeline might be. Thank you. And then the last thing I want to bring up is this closure of 6th Street, a complete closure across there. And I don't know exactly how that came to be agreed upon. And I know they think they need all this space for construction, but the reality is I travel a lot. And I watch 100-story skyscrapers be built in these big cities. And they give them one lane, and the traffic doesn't stop. And I don't know why this little 10-story building down there needs to close off that entire piece of circulation. It's critical to people in downtown Rapid City and their businesses. So I'm just wondering, did we vote on that, or did it just kind of happen? Because I don't remember that ever being discussed. Do any of you guys? I mean, that is a huge inconvenience for the downtown businesses, and I think we need to look at that and get a couple of those lanes over again so people can travel through that way. From what I saw, I looked back and I saw the lane will be closed until March 7th, and I must not have looked at the year. I just assumed to get the construction set up, it would be a couple months, and then it would be back open again, like it is in all these giant construction projects I see in cities when they're putting up real buildings, you know? So I can't imagine that's a standard operating procedure anywhere, and I'd like to know how that came into fruition, that they just closed off one of our major downtown streets. Anybody, you have the answer for that, Mr. Tech, or is that something else?
I don't know the specifics of it, but as part of the permitting process for the construction of that building, they submitted a request to have closures on roadways, and those were evaluated and approved via the permitting process. That is not something that the city council would normally vote on.
Yeah, well, we maybe need to revisit that, and I'll continue to do more checking, because that is a huge problem downtown right now, and I don't know a single businessman in downtown that doesn't feel it's inappropriate. So just want to let you know about that, and I guess that's all I have to bellyache about today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now that that's over, I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Oh, I didn't see in there, Greg. Go ahead, Greg.
Thank you. May I address Director Tech?
You may, yeah, absolutely.
Dale, you mentioned it, or Bill brought it up, but there was a discussion about the North Elkvale Road and the TIF, that I think we both were at that TIF meeting, and they talked about they were going to extend the sewer and so forth. I've been getting some emails about the road. Do you know, has there been any progress on the road itself?
That's what I need to check into.
Okay.
I don't know that answer right off the top of my head.
Okay, thanks. I have nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? And a second. All in favor? Thank you.